And welcome back to the fifth and final stop of the 2023 World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup. We are here in Funchal, Portugal for the final stop of the series, and today is day 2 of competition, which means it is our relays in action, the 4x1500m race. We have 12 teams set to represent their country here in Funchal, and of course looking to claim those medals. We've seen a great opening day of competition in day 1 with the men's and the women's 10 kilometers titles being awarded, as well as the overall series points and our sprint points and our junior points. So it was a fantastic opening day, and there are a number of swimmers who raced yesterday looking to go back to back and claim those top titles. One of them being Domenico Azzarenza, who took out the men's 10 kilometers in emphatic fashion and is in action once again with the Italian team. As we said before, 12 teams set to race, 2 of them representing Turkey, as we see on the screen. Today's temperature is 19 degrees in the air, 22.3 in the water. The swimmers will be racing in their race suits as opposed to a wetsuit race, which will be some fast swimming seen in the mixed relay. A number of teams using different strategies here, with a combination of the female, male, and of course the male, female, male, and we've seen this race become a key part of the World Cup experience this year. Another new initiative that was introduced with great success, and we will see it once again for the final time in just under 10 minutes. Our swimmers are getting ready to race. We are missing some of the superstars from yesterday's competition, with the likes of Florian Walbrock yet to compete in this relay. We'll be looking to see this relay potentially included in the future Olympic Games. Australia on screen now. They have 2 teams entered today. Some great swimmers in Australia Team 2, including Maddie Goff, who will lead them off. They have opted, for a female, male finish. So Maddie Goff will lead them off. She did a great job in the early stages of the women's race yesterday, but wasn't able to hold on to the likes of Claire Weinstein, who was absolutely fantastic. The US not entering a team into this relay, so we won't see those swimmers back in action, but I'm sure they'll be getting ready to race with vigor in February in Doha at the 2024 World Aquatics World Championships. So as we have done with all of our events at the World Cups this year, we'll introduce our athletes very shortly. That team and will be the first swimmer off the marks. So not too far from introducing the swimmers. They'll once again brave the Atlantic Ocean here, dive out and head towards the starting platform before getting ready to race. So Hungary deciding the second team with female, male category. The Czech team have elected to go male, female, and Matej Kozabek will lead them off. So we expect to see the Czech team out in front, especially early on. I think Kozabek will be getting a lot of his own water. We see there the Hungarian team, number 2, coming out. The team from Czech. Introduce Matej Kozabek in the race suit, ready to represent his country Australia Team 2, Maddie Goff, Jacqueline Davison-McGovern, Robbie Bonsall, and Jack Wilson with the fresh haircut for Jack Wilson. Looking absolutely phenomenal. You see our Spanish team, they are one to watch. They've continued to move forward there without Carlos Garrick Benito, who is one of their star swimmers. So I'd expect to see them competing early, but maybe fading away as we move through the race. The Brazilian team in cap number 50, Vivian Jongbut headlines, Bernardo Galvini, also a superstar in the making for the Brazilians. Here we have the Italians, one of the heavy favorites today. Taducci leads them off. Brady will swim second. Gregorio Paltrinari will swim third. And yesterday's champion, Domenico Azzarenza, will round out the team. Australia A now being introduced with Moesha Johnson, Chelsea Quebecer, Bailey Armstrong, and Kylie also sporting a fresh haircut for the Australian team. He had a fantastic finish at the World Champs to claim them bronze. The French team introduced Ariel Mueller, Caroline Jousset, Sasha Velli, Logan Fontaine, a team of champions. They finished in 5th position at this year's World Champs. Our second team at this year's World Champs, wearing cap 90, is Hungary. They will be very hard to beat. They'll be taking up to the Italian team with all intention of getting the better of them after finishing second at World Champs. Our first Turkish team introduced now. We've seen the Turks enter some great swimmers into the opening day of competition, but these swimmers still just outside of competition. Portugal introduced Mafalda Rosa, the headline for the Portuguese team, as she was yesterday. The hometown heroes. Turkey's team 2 in cap 120. As we said before, these are the names that we'll be watching for years to come, but a little bit out of their depth here. Those are our 12 teams as they head out to the starting platform. 4 laps of 1,500 meters will see our final champion crowned for 2023. Who will be the overall winner and who will be in contention for the minor medals, we'll find out in just over an hour's time. But for now, our first swimmers making their way down to the water's edge. They will dive in to the race platform. They'll dive into the course, they'll swim across to the race platform, and then they'll be in the hands of the starters just over 2 minutes away from the start of the final event of the 2023 World Aquatics calendar for open water swimming. The 12 first swimmers will open the relays. So 12 swimmers that will take to the water for the first leg are now on the starting platform. So it's a stark contrast from yesterday's competition where we had 92 athletes in the men's race, 80 in the women's. And today we have 12 set to take on the best that has to be offered here in the Atlantic Ocean. So not too far away from the start. So we can see our athletes on the starting platform now in the hands of the starters. The final event for the 2023 World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup here in Funchal. We have 12 incredible teams on the starting line. We expect the Czech team to go out really hard on the back of Matej Kozebek. Had a good result yesterday. So here we go in the starters' hands. Balancing act out there on the starting platform, but they're underway. The final event of the 2023 calendar for open water swimming at the World Aquatics World Cup. And we can see those athletes diving in and immediately heading to the right. We saw yesterday the impact that the current has on the field. We know how important that great start can be for overall team success. Looks like the Turkish team leading them out. They have elected with a little bit of a strange order. One team being led out by the men and one team being led out by the women. So I wonder if they're going to tie into some tactics here. But early on in the race, the Turks are out in front and looking fantastic. We should see Kozbek in a second. And it's really just a matter of how fast can the girls swim to stay in touch with the likes of our leaders. Really is essential. We saw this year's World Championships. Chelsea Becker, in fact, led off for the Australian team and managed to separate herself from the rest of the field. Joey Tepper was the swimmer of the USA who managed to hold the lead for the United States through the early lap, the first lap. The United States falling back after the good start. The French team was the only team in the top 5 that elected for a different model from the women, men, style of racing, and ultimately cost them. As we see now, Isla of Turkey leading the way and with a bit of a gap. So haven't seen Kozebek pop up yet for the checker, but I'm sure he's not too far away from that lead. So it does put the teams under immense pressure here. The Italians well represented by Genevieve Taducci, Ariane Britti, Gregorio Palcineri, and Dominic Azzarenza. We saw in Fukuoka this year at the World Championships, the Italian team just off the pace as they went into the final 2 legs of that race. But then Domenico and Gregorio did what they do best and really stormed home in the back end. So it looks like the Australian team currently sitting in second. Looks like Moesha Johnson of Australia, much like Maddie Goff, who swims for Team 2 in Australia. Very high cadence and did a great job to control a lot of the race yesterday. It's been a beautiful weekend here in Funchal, Portugal, in the Madeira Islands. A big thank you to the Madeira Islands for supporting this event and supporting World Aquatics to ensure a great event for the athletes. On the opening lap of both the men's and the women's race yesterday, there was an immense amount of white water, which was a stark contrast to, of course, the deep blue of the Atlantic Ocean. Madeira Islands, in fact, Funchal, of course, with an extensive history with volcanoes. So the volcanic islands really make it quite deep in the waters surrounding the bay. And we can see, well, not quite in this shot, but we've seen already the impact that incredible amount of water movement can have on the pack. This is our chase group, of course, behind the Turkish team who leads the way. Moesha Johnson and Bettina Fabian out in front for Australia and Hungary, respectively. The Hungarians entering almost the same team as the medal at this year's World Championships. But Isla of Turkey, I believe, leading the way. We'll get an update on that shortly. So some great shots here once again from our event drone in action all day yesterday, and it really paid dividends for those spectating from home and abroad, taking you into the insights of this great sport. As we can see on the top left hand side there, lap 1 of 4. These swimmers only swimming the 1500 meters required today, so very much a different change in pace from what was yesterday's competition. If we look at the athletes in the water, sorry. Bettina Fabian had a great swim, storming home in that final lap in the women's race to put herself in contention and take out that junior overall points title. But not too dissimilar, as we said earlier, for the Hungarians in today's race. They are almost the same team that raced to second place in Fukuoka this year. The issue for the Hungarians, of course, is a similar team once again entered from the Italians. We expect to see Taducci maintain contact with that lead pack, but don't expect her to sort of do any real work at the front. The Hungarians will have Bettina Fabian leading them out, Mira Sismak going second, David Bethlehem will go third, and Krzysztof Rozowski will round out that team. We know Krzysztof taking out the sprint points this year, so clearly he has the pedigree to get it done. I can't imagine the likes of Kyle Lee, who will finish off that Australian team, will have the ability to outsmart the likes of Krzysztof Rozowski, but I'm excited to see it play out. And of course, the raging favourites after what was a sensational opening day are the Italians, who will see Domenico at Cerenza anchor that team after being handed what can only be presumed the lead from Gregorio Paucineri at the end of the third lap. So the Italians represented by Taducci, Britti, Paucineri, and at Cerenza. We'll see how it all sort of comes to formation, but for now it's a gridlock for the top 5 teams, which means there is someone that's missed out, because we can see the Turkish team in contention. So Turkey, Australia, Hungary, Portugal represented by Mafalda Rosa. I didn't get to see who was sitting in 5th currently, but we'll get that update shortly. But it means Maddie Goff of Australia might have fallen off here. We haven't seen Kozubek of Czech in that lead pack, which is quite a surprise, but we'll watch as the race transpires. So they're on their way back now to complete lap number 1.
Almost 10 minutes of racing, and we see Turkey and Australia leading the pace, then Portugal and Hungary.
So expect to see some big cheers for the Portuguese team. The second time we've been racing in Portugal this year. It's a little bit of a gap opening up between 2nd and 3rd there. The Turkish team still leading the way. Risha Johnson sitting in tight.
Very strong race right now.
So we can see that separation between second and third is starting to open up.
Closing the gap to the rest of them.
Johnson is doing a great job for the Australians.
Australia in the lead.
We saw the Turkish team. This is their team two. This is Arif Isla,
In front of
born in 2007. So the Turkish team, as we noted yesterday, quite young. Both the 2007 and 2006 for the men, and 2007 and 2009 date of birth for the two swimmers that will swim second and third, the women for Turkey. But Isla really benefiting the Australians here as Moesha Johnson sits currently in second position. There's been a gap open to third, still third, fourth, and fifth swimming together in sixth. Well off the pace now, and in fact on a separate line. So we will pick up who that is in sixth position, but we've got some big teams racing at the front. Bettina Fabian leads the chase group. Mafalda Rosa sitting in second for Portugal in that chase group, and Genevera Taducci rounds out the group. So we are missing the French team, which I was expecting to be up in the leading pack early on in this race. Ariel Mueller leading out the French team. I'm sure they'll be able to fight back. Caroline Jousset will swim the second leg for the French team. And then we'll have Sasha Velli and Logan Fontaine anchoring them out. Both Sasha Velli and Logan had great races yesterday. Sasha, in fact, really stamping his authority on the race for the first time at an international meet, or at least very deep into the race. We've seen him lead races early, but he did move forward in the fifth lap, which was a bit of a surprise, unfortunately fading towards the end. But a credit to how deep French open water swimming has really become over the last 5 to 10 years. Similarly, the Italians well represented up the top. Hungary's been good this year as well, as always. Really sitting behind the likes of Christoph Rozowski and David Bethlehem. But Bettina Fabian on the women's side, Anna Olaz and Mercedes Mack, who is racing in the relay today, as is Anna Olaz for Hungary. She sits in the second team. She's leading out that second team. So we don't see them within eye shot of the chasing group. But we'll get some updates as they come down. Not too much longer to end lap number one. Moesha Johnson out in front for Australia, next to, of course, the Turkish swimmer Elif Isla, who is in the Turkish Team B. The big team swimming in that chase group with Hungary, Portugal, and Italy. They do not want to let Australia get too much of a gap. They won't be racing today with Nick Sloman, but it will be Kyle Lee on the anchor, and Kyle Lee knows how to finish a race. We saw him touch out Oliver Clement of Germany at this year's World Championships to claim the first ever mixed relay medal at the World Champs for Australia in this format at least. It was a great result for the Australian open water team, splitting up the dominance that has come to fruition in European open water swimming. And it looks like we're seeing another Australian really try and throw that hat in the ring as we head towards Olympic selection early next year. Bettina Fabian still leading the way for that. No, I believe that's Genevera Taducci now. No, Mafalda Rosa, in fact, leading the way for that chase group. So the Portuguese team has a little bit of pressure on how they race today. Expect them to sit quite comfortably in the first two laps. Interesting line here by our athletes as they come around that turn can. They will go to hand over to swimmer number 2. So they will swim a bit further down, take a left-hand turn, and swim towards our final second swimmers. Falda Rosa of Portugal turning up the heat in that second group, the chase pack, trying to shut down the lead set up by Moesha Johnson. Our Turkish team, who sits currently in second position behind Ayf Isla, has a bit of work to do. Sezen Boy will go in the water second for the Turkish team. And I don't think that she will have the top speed to keep up with the likes of Chelsea Gubeka, Mira Sismak, Angelica Andre, and Ariana Britti. But only time will tell as the Australian team continues to fight through the water. There is Mateo Kozebek. A little bit disappointing to not see him up the front leading the way, but regardless, it's given some of the next generation athletes an opportunity to stand up in the limelight. So Isa leads the way for Turkey. We saw Johnson then split off the back of his feet. You can hear a bit of whistling happening from our athletes. They've taken a very interesting line. I think they've thought they had to go around the finishing platform, which has given Moesha Johnson. This just proves how critical it is to have good sighting skills. So we can see chaos happening in that chase group. Moesha Johnson is well out in front. She hands over to Chelsea Gubeka, who is exceptional in this circumstance. So Gubeka in the water, Australia well out in front. The chase pack is in absolute shambles. We have Taducci leading the way for Italy. The Turkish team too, currently sitting in second position. They were a little bit confused at the end of that lap as well. So Ginevra Taducci touches in third position, handing over, of course, to Ariana Britti. In fourth position currently is Portugal. It was a great opening leg there by the Portuguese. Angelica Andre in the water for the Portuguese team now. Mira Sismak in the water for Hungary. And you can see that gap was really only about 5 seconds before Moesha Johnson nailed her line into the finish. And it is absolutely blown out for the Italians. 20 seconds back now. Portugal 22 and Hungary 24. Chelsea Gubeka is expected to really pull away here, but the race certainly isn't over. As we said, Gregorio Paucineri, Domenico Azzarenza to anchor the Italian team. Our Portugal team will be well represented as well, but the Hungarians with arguably two of the best swimmers on the World Cup scene in David Bethlehem and Krzysztof Rozowski, our champion, who was crowned yesterday. We have no German team or US team racing today. The Spanish team is entered, but just outside of medal consideration early on. So if you're just tuning in, welcome to the second and final day of competition at the 2023 World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup here in Funchal. We saw a great opening day yesterday with the men's and the women's 10 kilometers being battled through 6 laps of 1.66 kilometers. Today we see the relays and we have 12 teams entered, a couple from a few federations, including Australia, Turkey, and Hungary, among others. And out in front, we have the Australians, Chelsea Gubeka leading the way. Leading the chase pack currently, I believe, is Angelica Andre of Portugal. We did have our Turkish team in consideration for second, but they have started to slide back here. As to be expected, there are some big names in this field. So a valiant effort by the young Turkish swimmers to be up in the limelight and still holding down second, in fact, but I can't imagine it'll be for too much longer as Angelica Andre starts to put pedal to the floor.
Leader Zach comes now to the front of the chasing group. Looking forward to get Turkey, but Turkey has about 50 meters, less than that.
So at this stage, no sign of the French team, which is a surprise. They were led off by Ariane Mueller, who had a great day yesterday. Caroline Jousset swimming second. We do have a little bit of movement at the back of the field. I believe that's the Czech team in the green cap. So as we said at the start of the meet, that this is the final stop of 2023. The World Aquatics team recently dropping the schedule of events for 2024. In fact, we will be racing 5 times through the year at the World Cup stops, not to mention, of course, the World Championships set to be held in February in Doha, and the one that a lot of people are looking forward to, among other things, is the Olympic Games in Paris, the 8th and 9th of August. We'll see the marathon swimming contested and 2 gold medals handed out. Will we see a new Olympic champion, or will we see another champion of our sport be awarded? After yesterday's result from Claire Weinstein of the USA, I'm really excited to see how it all sort of comes together. That's a great shot there of Chelsea Gubecka out in front by herself, really churning through the water. It does show how important it is in these situations, specifically the relays, to nail those sighting opportunities and making sure that your ring is efficient as possible, swimming as straight as possible. You want to minimize the amount of distance you have to cover. So Chelsea, good line, but she's going to straighten up as she comes into this yellow turn can. And this is lap 2 of 4, the 4x1500m mixed relay. Australia leads the field. A chase pack currently of 4, including Turkey, Portugal, Italy. We see the second chase group starting to pull their finger out and putting the pedal to the metal, as we saw earlier. I believe that the Czech team, who is leading that second chase group, Mateo Kozubek leading off for the Czech team, just off the pace, but they've decided to go 2 men to lead the race. It hasn't quite paid dividends yet, but of course there's still another half a lap to go in this second lap. Things are starting to spice up here in Funchal. Good to see these athletes having a dip after what was a great opening day of competition, specifically for the countries that have to travel quite a distance to compete. It's good to see them racing not only the individual events, but as well in the relays. So Chelsea Gubecka leads the field. We're not too sure on the gap to second yet. Looks like the Czech team, in fact, is swum up into that second pack, the leading chase pack. The gap was 20 seconds at the end of lap 1. It's hard to tell if they've been able to take any time out of Gubecka. We'll find out in about 800 meters time. You can see the pace is well and truly on. We want to see the French team up in consideration as well. Not sure where Caroline, as you say, of France is currently sitting, but I'm sure she's got her eyes on the back of that pack. Australia Team 2 as well is set up strongly in the opening legs, as was the Hungarian Team 2. Anna Olaz was selected as the opening leg swimmer. They didn't register early on with those leading teams. So in fact it is, as we suggested, the Czech team through Strucker leading that chase group. Gavoli of Brazil now sitting in second. They had Vivian Jongblunt of Brazil leading them off. And Gavoli doing a great job to bridge that gap to the leading chase group. So there's no restrictions on the order of our athletes here. It just comes down to whatever suits your country best. The Brazilians deciding to go with a female, male, male, female combo. We'll see how that plays out. Australia sending their 2 women off first. So far, it's great to see the girls out in front, really in control of the race. They'll hand over to Bailey Armstrong for that third leg. He had a fantastic finish to the race yesterday in the men's 10 kilometers, storming home in the last lap, and I believe booking himself a position at next year's World Championships. Of course, this is all unofficial and waiting clarification from his national federation, among others. Equally special, Hector Pardo in that last leg of the men's 10 kilometers was nothing short of sensational. He moved all the way back from 22nd into the top 5. A truly special achievement. Chelsea Gubecka was unlucky on the finish yesterday. She was steaming forward to claim second and just got mixed up in a little bit of argy-bargy, moving away from the podium. And what a finish we had to the overall point series as well, coming down to a photo finish between the greats of our sport, Leonie Beck and Sharon van Ruendaal. So we're with our chase pack now, and Straka of Czech Republic leading out the way. They are starting to eat into that gap of Chelsea Gubecka without having dropped those swimmers from Portugal and Italy. Didn't quite see there if Mira Sismak was in control, but we'll get an update for you soon. Chelsea Gubecka still out in front, but that lead is disintegrating. She has a fantastic stroke, does Gubecka. Really built for these lumpy conditions. An incredibly strong swimmer, much like Ana Marcela Cunha, powering through the waves, utilizing the kick to drive herself forward as well. I believe her and her coach Kate Sparks have been doing a lot of work on her speed. As we talked about yesterday, Gubecka has been in this sport for over a decade now at the highest level. So to see her continuing to find ways to improve is really an inspiration for young athletes out there looking for success. We see a split now in our chase group. So Straka leading the way in the chase group for the Czech team. Gavoli sitting in second, and in fact it is Sismak of Hungary just off the pace, but she's managed to utilize the draft of those two male swimmers to gap herself from the Italian and the Portuguese swimmer sitting in fifth and sixth respectively. So they have eaten into that lead of Chelsea Gubecka. It's gonna be interesting to see if they're able to overtake the Australian for the lead. We saw at the end of lap 1 there was quite a bit of contention around where to go on that changeover area. They'll swim past the turn can from yesterday, do a little bit extra, and then turn left and head to home. It is a tad confusing with the finish arch in the way, but these swimmers will manage their way through that. That is the beauty of open water swimming. You never get the same event happening twice. These swimmers would have seen that first and leading swimmer make that mistake, so hopefully they've been able to watch, learn, and improve for this lap as they come through this turn can now. It's not quite as tight as it was yesterday. More of a turn and continue to swim forward to the next turn can and hang a left and come into the feeding platform. The leading swimmer, and every swimmer in fact, when they hit the platform, then signals for the next swimmer of that country to move. For Australia, that will be Bailey Armstrong. The Czech team sent both their men off first in Matej Kozubek and Martin Straka, who currently is getting oh so close to Chelsea Gubecka. The Brazilians went with Vivian Jongblut at the front. Bernardo Gavoli currently swimming. They have Mateus Melechi to go third, so we're not going to be getting rid of the team from Brazil anytime shortly. Neither are we looking to get away from the Australians out in front in Team A. This is Chelsea Gubecka. As we can see now, Martin Straka making contact with Chelsea Gubecka's feet. There's just over 100 meters to swim to round out lap number 2. This is 2 of 4 in the mixed 4x1500m freestyle relay. The final time these athletes will swim in 2023 at this level. The final event, of course, for the 2023 season, and what a season it has been as we capped out some great results yesterday, presenting our overall, our sprint, and our junior champions. So Martin Straka on the inside of the course in the bright yellow cap, charging his way towards the finish line. Chelsea Gubecka on the outside of the course, and in the middle is the team from Brazil. So a three-way sprint as they come down to finish off. Australia having now sent off 2 female athletes. Bailey Armstrong set and ready to race. A Czech swimmer leads it in. Martin Straka it is. But you can see already the pace difference. Bailey Armstrong really putting in the hard yards to separate himself from the Czech and Brazilian teams. Hungary in next. They have David Bethlehem in the water. Krzysztof Rozowski will anchor that team. Here comes the Portuguese and the Italians. Gregorio Paltrineri set to swim for Italy. So expect to see the Italians move forward. The danger position for Australia would be if the Italian and Hungarian team managed to group up and work together. We know how fast Domenico Azzarenza can be over that finish, and included in that is Krzysztof Rozowski, who, of course, won the overall sprint title for 2023. So there is more than plenty to look forward to. We're on lap 3 now of 4 at the relay, the final stop of the 2023 World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup here in Funchal, Portugal. So stay tuned for who will be crowned the champion for the final event in the mixed team relay.
So after the second leg, we have Czechia in 34.
So Czechia leading the way to Brazil, Australia in third, Hungary in fourth, Italy in fifth, and Portugal currently sitting in sixth. The hometown heroes. Of course, we've had a little bit of a change in leads here as we have Bailey Armstrong leading the way for Australia. Brazil currently sitting in second position. The Czech team just falling off the pace. We can see Hungary and Italy looming large. And we won't discredit, of course, the home team, Portugal, looking good. The Madeira Islands really putting it on for our teams here. The beautiful blue of
Bethlehem. For Italy is Gregorio Cotrinieri, and from Portugal is Diogo Cardoso. This is the top 5 right now, 6th place for Turkey. Swimming now with Eylül Aysetin. So after the second leg, Czechia in 34:37.9, Brazil in 34:39, Australia in 34:40, Hungary in 34:53.9, Italy in 35:11.6, Portugal in 35:13.4, Australia second team 35:18.4, Spain 35:35.6. Hungary second team 35:37.6. Minutes racing right now. The leader right now is the team of Brazil. swimming with Matheus Galecki. This is the third leg of all relays. Swimming for Hungary, team number 2, Ashak Amparzumian.
Back to the action, and we can see that lead pack slowly but surely getting caught by David Bethlehem of Hungary. He has absolutely shifted in this opening leg of lap number 3. Bailey Armstrong still out in front for Australia. You can see the conditions still holding off here. Where is Gregorio Palcineri for Italy? There is Gregorio. So not too far away. We will have, I expect, a change in lead. David Bethlehem really working hard. Got to credit the Brazilian still sitting in second position. It's Matheus Melechi of Brazil currently sitting in second position. Expect to see them fall off the pace with Sibel Jongblut onto anchor. Nothing against, of course, what was a great swimmer, who is a great swimmer, and what was a great swim from Sibel yesterday. But in the final leg, all the Hungarians, Australians, and the Italians will be sending off their final male swimmer. So we wait to watch eagerly as we see David Bethlehem coming up the inside of the course here. If David is able to get his way here, I'd suggest that he will move wide around Bailey. He's in front now of the Brazilian team into second position. If Hungary want to take the title, they will need some separation from the Italians just to ensure the win. We saw Hungary take the win in both Stubble and Sommer Bay this year. The Italians have finished second in all 3 stops of the World Cups. And of course, were the world champions at this year's race in Fukuoka. Melechi of Brazil leads the way at the back of this pack. Bailey Armstrong out in front, and Bethlehem moving forward with every stroke. Krzysztof Rozowski will be the final swimmer for the Hungarians. It was a good start, but it wasn't good enough for Australia to hold off the Hungarians. See Bethlehem in his own water now. He has gone wide. So very interesting tactics here. We knew that Bethlehem would want to get away from Bailey Armstrong. Armstrong still fighting through the water, as is Melechi of Brazil. See a couple of our Turkish swimmers starting their cool-down process after the race. David Bethlehem out in front for Hungary, where he is comfortable. He has an incredible stroke rate out in front. He's really light in the water and maximizes that efficiency by taking a very high cadence, constantly kicking as well. He's not afraid to lead a race, as we see now Gregorio Palcineri within earshot of the lead. Bethlehem really needs to make some separation from Bailey Armstrong, and Bailey won't be letting him go anytime soon. Melechi of Brazil still sitting on the feet of Armstrong, so a great result for the Brazilians. As we mentioned earlier, they will struggle in that final leg with a female swimmer set to enter the water. Palcineri looms large as the threat to both the win and the minor medals. at Terenza will finish off for the Italians. We haven't seen the French team really feature at all in today's race, but we expect to see them fit and firing in that final leg. Logan Fontaine will be on the anchor for the French team. But you just sit here and take in what is a sensational performance from David Bethlehem out in front. There's a little bit of gap opening up between second and third now, but nothing that can't be shut down very quickly if Maletti is able to react quickly enough. The 1500-meter open water swim is a new world of pain for these athletes. They, whilst definitely fit and firing, they the intensity that comes from such a short race, and then you add obviously not the same conditions that would be expected in a pool 1500 meter with the rolling swell, no turns, and really no idea where anyone else is in the field. It does make it quite spicy for the athletes to battle through. You wouldn't notice though if you're watching David Bethlehem, he looks absolutely sensational flying through the water. She comes down with only about 250 meters to swim. He'll go past this turn can, hang a right, and then a final right-hand turn into the feeding platform, which doubles as the starting platform for the next swimmer. And we'll have our final athletes underway.
Trying to reach this first group with Gregorio Faltrinieri.
So unfortunately for Bethlehem, he's tried hard to open some separation, but has not been successful. That lead pack of three still intact, and Gregorio Faltrinieri just off the side of the screen currently. There has been, of course, a pace increase since Bethlehem moved into this group, but hasn't been significant enough to open a gap to the great Gregorio Faltrinieri. So a race in for the minor medals, and I suspect we will lose the Brazilians from this group. The Australians, the Hungarians, and the Italians all have men finishing off their race. A tiny little gap opening up there on the turn can. Bailey Armstrong, a fantastic surf swimmer in his own right, so clearly utilizing those skills to drive him and his team forward. But Bethlehem burning through the field. He had to make up a deficit of 16 seconds at the end of lap 2 and has done so very comfortably. So they come down to the final turn can of lap 3. This is the 4x1500 mixed freestyle relay. A monumental gap from 4th to 5th. The 5th team was Portugal at our last update. I'm not sure where they're currently sitting. As we've said a couple times, the French team has yet to feature in today's race. They have some classy swimmers, so it's now or never for the French. But this third lap has been all about David Bethlehem of Hungary. He's gone after it with intent. He took about 700 meters to catch up to the lead, but since he got to that front pack, he has been absolutely dominant out in front. He's given his teammate all the best opportunity to take out the overall win, and what a teammate that is, of course. The reigning two-time champion of the series in 22 and 23, Krzysztof Rosowski, back to back. This time he's an outright winner. Last year he drew with Paltrinieri. So certainly not an easy task ahead of Domenico Carenza of Italy. He has a pretty large gap to chase down. Bethlehem managing to open up a little bit more on Bailey Armstrong. Krzysztof Rosowski in the water now for Hungary. Kyle Lee in the water, second for Australia, despite what the results currently showing on the scoreboard. Third place, we had the Brazilian team coming in, and Italy in the water through Domenico Azzarenza. So coming in to change over now, the fifth team overall. You're watching this one with intent. Who is in fifth? Is that the French team? Yet to pop up on the screen. But if so, Logan Fontaine with a job ahead of him to move up into the medals. So Carl Lee would like his chances here for Australia to sneak a medal. Brazilians with a tough job ahead of them to lock down third position. And at Sorenzo will have all eyes on Krzysztof Rosowski. He wants to leave this event not only with 2 gold medals after yesterday's performance, but also to get on top of Hungary, who have taken the win in the relays at both Sommer Bay and Stubble, whilst Italy have had to settle for second at all 3 stops. So we have Krzysztof Rosowski out in front. Sitting in third position there is Azzarenza, so he's already shut down that gap that was established. Sitting in second is Kyle Lee for Australia, but not for much longer as Azzarenza pulls up on his hip. Kyle Lee, a very good match racer. If he locks eyes on an athlete, he does not usually let them go. So they're fighting now for Rosowski's feet. Who's going to get that drag? It is a long way out, I believe, for Kyle Lee to be able to hold on to Azzarenza. Get an update there. Hungary, Italy, Brazil, and France were missing the Australian team, so the Australians were sitting in second. But you can see it's been only 300 meters, but that 8-second gap between Hungary and Italy has been diminished through Domenico Azzarenza. He's come out of the gates flying. His finishing turn of speed yesterday was truly sensational. And it'll be interesting to see with himself, Rosowski, and Lee, who wants the gold medal more. At this stage, I'd probably have my money on the Hungarians, just because Rosowski will likely lock eyes with Azzarenza and is a fantastic finisher in his own right. But it's going to be very, very exciting between the Hungarians and the Italians. Australia looks like they've secured third position through Kyle Lee. I can't see the young Australian really mixing it with arguably 2 of the hottest form swimmers in the world. You throw in the likes of Florian Wellbrock. But Azzarenza and Rosowski have truly been strong all throughout the season. This will be the final time this year we see these athletes in action. Just soak in the next 7 or so minutes as these athletes battle through the beautiful coastline here in Funchal.
Fifth place right now is for France. France swimming with Logan Fontaine. 6th place for Portugal, swimming with Jack Gums. 7th place for Hungary, number 2, Peter Galix. Closing up for the Hungarians. 8th place for Spain, now swimming with Guillaume Puyol. Australia number 2 now swimming with Jack Wilson.
So still lead pack of 3. It is out in front, Christopher Zolksi, Domenico Azzarenza of Italy in second, and Kyle Lee of Australia sitting in third. Kyle's got to be careful here. He does not want to let those feet slide, because sitting currently in fourth position is Logan Fontaine from France. We know Logan has absolute pedigree backing him, so he'll be looking to mix it in the medals. The French team have come third at all 3 World Cup stops this year in Stubble, Golfo Oranci, and Sommer Bay. In fact, the only change we've really had is when Germany took the win at Golfo Oranci. The other 2 races, it was Hungary, Italy, and France in the podium. So potentially a big shake-up here with the positioning. If Italy is able to get on top and Australia makes their way into the medals, it's going to be a great way to round out what has been a fantastic season of open water swimming. So this is the 4th and final lap of the mixed 4x1500m mixed freestyle relay. Out in front, we have Christoph Rozovsky of Italy sitting in second, Domenico Azzarenza, and in third, Kyle Lee of Australia. Fourth position, not currently pictured, and about 40 seconds off the pace is Logan Fontaine from France. The medals will come from those 4 athletes. As to the destination of each medal is yet to be determined. Christoph Rozovsky looking absolutely fantastic out in front, but Domenico Azzarenza showed us earlier in this lap, and of course yesterday in the men's 10 kilometers, his change of speed is truly sensational. So even though he's sitting currently behind Rozovsky, I expect Azzarenza to make a push for the win. This is our chasing swimmers. They won't feature in the medals, but still great to have their federations represented on this stage. Back to our lead group. Rozovsky is almost built for this swimming. I saw a video back in 2017 of Christoph Rozovsky on his way to winning his first ever World Cup in Stubble, and it was similar to this, a little bit shallower of course, but quite a bit of chop in the water, and he looked absolutely sensational, just building through the waves, using his strength to the advantage. So a great turn there from Kyle Lee, in fact, pulling up alongside Domenico Azzarenza. Azzarenza pulling wide from Rozovsky here. This could be a pivotal move. I know Christoph is breathing towards him and a very smart racer, so he'll make that decision whether or not he wants to move across to the Italian. Azzarenza intent on getting his own water, and in fact is almost pulling level with the Hungarian now. So this is going to be an interesting point for Rozovsky. Does he move across to Azzarenza, or does he decide that he'll take the win in a drag race down this final 600 meters of the race? Kyle Lee tucked in for third position at the moment for Australia. It's going to be a good line for Lee. He's able to hold it behind Rozovsky into that turn can, and then it will be on for the final sprint. It's been great to see the scenery here in Funchal, the Madeira Islands of Portugal. It really has turned it on through the 2 days of competition. And it's great to see 170 athletes taking part in the festivities this weekend, racing for themselves, racing for their pride, racing for their families and friends, and of course racing for their country. Some athletes already having punched their ticket to the 2024 Paris Olympics, using this event as a selection event are those federations that still have spots in consideration. And I highly recommend any swimming fan out there to tune in for February in Doha as we appoint those final selections to the 2024 Paris Olympic Games. Here is the French team on cue. Logan Fontaine maximizing his time in the water. Logan was really strong yesterday for France. He's continued to, sort of cement his team as that top tier French athlete. He's not necessarily always considered at the medals. I wouldn't necessarily say that he would be a favorite for the world champs in that podium position, but he's always in amongst the action at the top of the game. In fact, I believe obviously the French team next year will reserve the right to select their own athlete outside of the International Olympic qualifying criteria. Should one of their athletes not meet, as the host nation, they reserve that right. But I'd say they will, of course, be in consideration should they finish in the top 13, which is quite likely for the French swimmers. So we're halfway through this final straight. This is lap 4, the final lap of the mix 4x1500 freestyle relay here in Funchal, Portugal. We have a doozy of a race ahead of us. Domenico Azzarenza just getting his nose in front of Christoph Rosowski. Kyle Lee of Australia sitting in third. Logan Fontaine hunting down in fourth position, but I don't believe he's going to be able to chase down that gap. Fifth position, well back at the last checkpoint. That was our team from Brazil, who led out really, really well through the first 3 laps, but just fallen off the pace. So in fact, yesterday, Logan Fontaine finishing as the first French swimmer across the line, just ahead of Marc-Antoine Olivier. I highly recommend any swimming fan to go back and watch the end of the men's race. It really was quite exciting on the touch there. It looks like there's been a little bit of a change once again. Rosowski now taking the charge of the race. Azzarenza moving in beside Lee. We saw on the far side of the course, Kyle Lee absolutely nailing that turn can. If he's able to get that inside line into this turn can ahead of Domenico Azzarenza, I do expect him to really pull forward. So we get the notification the Czech team has withdrawn from the race. Apologies to our Czech fans and Czech swimmers who had to withdraw. So we're just about 4 minutes away from the finish here. Some exciting racing ahead of us. We see Rosowski out in front. Azzarenza does not want to get into an arm wrestle with Kyle Lee. Kyle is simply sensational on that finishing straight. We know Azzarenza is really quick as well. So here we go, that turn can, the final turn can now. Rosowski leads us through. Kyle Lee nailing that turn. Absolutely sensational. In fact, almost pulling up alongside Christoph Rosowski there and leaving Domenico Azzarenza behind. The Italians falling off the pace. You can see Kyle coming up onto the hip now, or trying at least to get to Rosowski. Did not expect this of Kyle Lee, the young man from Bunbury, Western Australia. He is, in fact, on the hip. now of Krzysztof Rozovsky. What an incredible finish here from the Australians. The French team will finish in fourth. The Italians, can they get up into consideration? Domenico Azzarenza has an opportunity here on the outside of the course as Rozovsky and Lee start to battle. We get that overhead shot, and here is Domenico Azzarenza fighting on the outside. Rozovsky is going to try and push Kyle Lee into the finishing platform. Rozovsky has the lead ever so slightly ahead of Lee of Australia. It was a sensational turn there from Kyle Lee as they come down now with 50 to swim. Lee, Rozovsky, Azzarenza, Italy, Australia, and Hungary for the final time in 2023. Who gets the touch? It looks like to be the Australian team ahead of the Hungarians. Kyle Lee unofficially getting the job done ahead of Krzysztof Rozovsky, and Domenico Azzarenza having to settle for third position. We'll wait for ratification there, but that could be a massive boil over from the Australians, and off the credit from that fantastic final turn that Kyle Lee put in, moving from third in consideration for first. What a finish that was for the 2023 season. Logan Fontaine now coming in to the finishing arch for the French team as we take a moment to witness what was truly sensational. France settles for fourth. Logan Fontaine has done a great job but wasn't able to close that gap. And geez, that got the heart rate up on the finish line. Who was the team that takes the win? We'll wait for the official results to pull through, but that simply was sensational from Kyle Lee. I don't know if Rozovsky would have been expecting that. This looks to be, I believe, Hungary Team 2 coming in. So unofficially, Australia getting the job done for gold. That's the first time they've won a World Cup relay. And off the back of some great work early from Moesha Johnson and Chelsea Gubecka, Bailey Armstrong playing his part, and Kyle Lee simply sensational on that final straight. Hungary in second, unofficially Italy in third. France 44 seconds off the pace. Portugal steaming home to finish in fifth position. A great back end of the race for the Portuguese athletes. Another little sprint finish. In fact, I believe that might be the Hungarian and the Australian A sides. No, that we'll wait for confirmation. But that was absolutely an incredible way to round out the field, the final victory for 2023. We had 12 teams enter. I believe 11 will finish. We've had about 8 across the line now. So a ninth team coming in to touch the timing board. We just look back at that finish. The Australian team, what a way to wrap up that meet here. As we said, Chelsea Gubecka and Moesha Johnson swimming second and first respectively for Australia. Our Spanish team just off the pace today, missing Carlos Benito. See the celebrations of the Australian team, each and every one of them playing their part to get the win. Must have been that haircut for young Kyle Lee, making him swim slickly through the water. So I believe these are our final 2 teams coming in to finish. We won't be too far away from the medal presentations either. So we getting confirmation now. It was the Australian team taking the win ahead of Hungary. Italy in third through Domenico Azzarenza. We saw it sort of coming to fruition there on that final lap with Atzarenza and Rozovsky battling it out, and then Kyle Lee sitting in third position. And Atzarenza and Rozovsky were managing who was going to do the work, and then as we came to that final turn can, Kyle Lee positioning himself on the inside, ducking underneath, a quick dolphin kick, and up into second position on the hip of Rozovsky. So Christoph, the Hungarian, wouldn't have been expecting the pace there at the end, and Kyle Lee just managing his effort beautifully. The Australian open water scene really starting to build into its own, with Chelsea Gubecka obviously finishing second at this year's World Champs in the 10 kilometers. As we have our final two teams coming in to finish off their race now. Well done to all the athletes competing at this weekend's fifth and final stop on the World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup calendar. As we were saying, Australia taking the win in the relay ahead of Hungary, Italy finishing in third. And what a finish it was. We've had some great finishes this weekend. Two very dominant wins, of course, in the men's and the women's 10 kilometers, with Atzarenza getting the job done in the men's race, and then Claire Weinstein really arriving on the scene, just 16 years of age, the young US swimmer. She'll be one to keep an eye on for years to come. Arriving on the stage in emphatic fashion. But that was the closest of the wins. We see the Australian open water team there in shot, and what a team it is starting to shape up. As we were saying, Chelsea Gubecka second at this year's World Championships in the 10 kilometers. Nick Sloman, in fact, finishing in second yesterday. His arguably his best ever result, especially at an international level. And now the relay, who managed to sneak themselves onto the podium in a sprint finish similar to that at the World Champs earlier this year, but now to take a World Cup victory, the first time they've done so in this format, is truly sensational, and a credit to the hard work of those coaches, some of them being the likes of Kate Sparks, Ian Mills, and many others, really driving the standards forward and seeing how far the little old island can produce. We know they've got a great pool program, but that open water program starting to mix it with the kingpins of the European open water swimming scene in Germany, Italy, France, and of course Hungary. It's great to see. I think the US and the Spanish teams as well, not too far off the pace. And as we saw throughout the weekend, Turkey really with a great opportunity with their juniors coming through. It is shaping up to be quite exciting as a fan of international open water swimming. The sport really going from strength to strength, and a credit to the team at World Aquatics for investing so heavily in the sport and the way that the sport's being brought to you, not only through broadcast, but in terms of what is on offer for the athletes this year. As we've mentioned, having the junior, the sprint totals, and the overall points title, which was crowned yesterday. Leonie Beck taking the overall win in a photo finish, meaning there's more than one thing to race for. $50,000 going to Leonie Beck, which I'm sure will help her continue to drive her performances forward. Very, very exciting for Leonie. Sharon van Ruwendaal just missing out, but I'm sure she will be in the mix in 2024, not only in the World Cups, but at the major meets in the World Championships and the Olympic Games, hopefully pending selection. So I believe we might get an interview with the Australian team shortly, and we'll be going to medal presentations thereafter. But what a way to round out this year's World Cup series. We'll take a quick break and then we will head over to medals. So we have another beautiful shot of what has been a great venue to race in. Came together quite late in the piece, and a big thank you to Madeira Islands and Portugal for assisting World Aquatics in delivering another sensational event. As I said earlier, we're not too far away from our final medal presentations for 2023, the presentation of the relay medal. Recapping once again, Australia taking the title in a sprint finish ahead of Hungary and Italy finishing in third position. We had France 44 seconds behind in fourth position, and Portugal, the home nation, finishing in fifth. So just confirming, results yet to be confirmed. We are waiting ratification from our officials. So when they pop up on your screen, we'll get confirmation from the officials on ground as to the final positioning of our athletes. And thereafter, we will be crowning our overall title for the relays. So stay tuned for the final results and, of course, our medal presentation. So once again, just confirming, we're waiting for the official results to be ratified by our officials. We'll then move towards our final medal presentation for 2023. So if you're tuning in from home, just if you could continue your incredible patience as we move towards the final presentation of the year. So there we have it, the official results now being posted. And as we can see, we have lost the Hungarian team in second position. We'll get an update for that shortly. Australia, though, officially taking the win. Italy in second, France in third. We did have the Czech team withdraw from the race, and I do believe the Hungarian team has been disqualified for an incident on the fourth and final lap. More to be confirmed shortly, and we will be moving to medal ceremonies shortly thereafter.
That Hungary was disqualified. So the winner is Australia. Second place for Italy. Third place, bronze medal position for France.
So just confirming once again, the top three were Australia, Italy, and France, with Hungary unfortunately being disqualified after the race for an incident in the fourth and final lap of competition. We'll move to medal presentations very shortly as our athletes and officials look to wind up what has been an incredibly successful 2023 season. once again confirming that we will be heading to the medal ceremony very shortly to crown our final champions and champion of the 2023 4x1500m mixed relay at the 5th and final stop of the season in Funchal, Portugal. We are just having a little bit of a delay over the results being confirmed and athletes moving into position. So if you just bear with us one moment, we will be presenting those medals very shortly. So just another reminder that if you are watching along at home, we aren't too far away from the final medal presentation of 2023, wrapping up the action here in Funchal, Portugal, in the Madeira Islands. So we're just waiting for our athletes to get into position, and then we will proceed with the medal ceremony very shortly. Thank you for your patience as you tune in from around.
1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Um, dois. 1, 2, 3. O gajo está a mandar a música também agora.
So as we said, once again, a big thank you to all of the spectators at home tuning in for
Então, bom dia a todos,
this
sejam muito
weekend's
bem-vindos
action,
à
and we move
cerimónia de
now
premiação
to the medal ceremony.
da Taça do Mundo de Águas Abertas. Esta que é a última etapa, a última de 5 etapas e a etapa final que decorreu aqui desde ontem no Funchal. Vamos ter dentro de momentos a cerimónia protocolar de entrega das medalhas para os vencedores desta estafeta que se disputou no dia de hoje, 4 vezes 1500 metros mistos. So thank you all for your presence. In a short moment we will start the award ceremony for the medalists of the 4x1500 meters relay. This is the last podium session on this World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup in Funchal 2023. So in a few moments we will start this award ceremony. We will start with a recognition for the entities that made possible this leg number 5 in Funchal of the World Cup on the open water swim. So welcome all to the award ceremony on this World Cup Funchal 2023 World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup. Before the medal ceremony, we'll have a moment of recognition. So I call David Gomes, Madeira Sports Director on behalf of Madeira Government. Also Marília Andrade, Frente Mar Director on behalf of Funchal City Hall. Paulo Falé, board member of the Madeira Swimming Association, and Luis Batista, open water swimming technical delegate of the World Aquatics. And now I call the Vice President of the Portuguese Swimming Federation, Rui Sardinha, who will make this public recognition for these 4 entities that turn possible the organization of this Open Water Swimming World Cup. So I ask for your applause for all these entities, all these institutions. Thank you all on behalf of the Portuguese Swimming Federation. And now, Funchal, please welcome the medal ceremony for the World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup Mixed Relay. The medals and gifts will be presented by David Gomes, Madeira Sports Director, Rui Sardinha, Vice President of Portuguese Swimming Federation, and Luis Batista, World Aquatics Open Water Swimming Technical Committee Member. The winners of bronze medal, the team of France, represented by Aurélie Muller, Caroline Juisse, Sasha Valley, and Logan Fontaine. The winners of silver medal, the team of Italy, represented by Ginevra Tadeucci, Ariana Bridi, Gregorio Paltrinieri, and Domenico Acerenza. And the winners of the gold medal and Funchal mixed relay champions, the team of Australia, represented by Moesha Johnson, Chelsea Gubecka, Bailey Armstrong, and Kyle Lee.
So there we have our medalists in the final event, the mixed 4x1500m freestyle relay. Australia on top for the very first time in this format. A credit to Italy and France rounding out the podium. And what a finish that was from Kyle Lee to get Australia the gold off the back of the hard work of Bailey Armstrong, Moesha Johnson, and Chelsea Gubecka.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of Australia. Madeira, make some noise for your World Cup medalists.
So big congratulations once again to Australia taking home the final medal, the final gold medal at this year's 2023 World Cup stop in Funchal, Portugal.
So this is the final moments of 2 days of this World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup Funchal 2023. Thank you all for your presence. It was really a pleasure to having you with us. These are the final champions of this final leg of the World Cup this year. The open water swimming is following for the World Championships in Doha, and of course, next year, the Olympic Games. What a pleasure this has been, these 2 days in Madeira. Thank you all. See you next time. Obrigado, Madeira.
And as we wrap up in person, we will wrap up the stream. And what a season it has been for 2023. We do encourage each and every one of our fans to follow along on the World Aquatics social pages as well as the website for all the upcoming news, including the series ahead for 2024 and, of course, the World Championships. For now, my name is Will Roller. I have been your host across the 2 days, and what a 2 days it has been. We look forward to your company once again as we get ready to crown the 2024 World Champion.